welcome to Darnyougluten, where every Wednesday I share a delicious gluten-free recipe with you guys, and it's one that everyone and anyone can do. Even Boo! Probably not Boo, but pretty much everyone. Today we're going to be making pear and caramel cupcakes. I have themed them. Can you guess the theme? This is a clue. Gryffindor hoodie? Yes. Harry Potter. Why? Because Harry Potter is freaking awesome. So I hope you enjoy this video. If you do, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. That's enough talking. Let's get cooking. The ingredients you will need are 2 ripe Packham pears. Mine weighed 460 grams. 2 ripe conference pears. Mine weighed 320 grams, and these pears are very juicy. Half a teaspoon of cinnamon, 60 grams of coconut oil, 100 grams of brown sugar, 1 tablespoon of clear honey, 4 eggs lightly whisked, 150 grams of white rice flour, 100 grams of brown rice flour, 100 grams of tapioca flour, 50 grams of potato starch, 4 teaspoons or about 11 grams of baking powder, a pinch of salt, 150 grams of Greek-style yogurt, 300 milliliters of milk, and finally some salted caramel. And I made a video on how to make your own salted caramel last week. You can click on the link here to see that video, or you can find the link in the description box below. First we're going to go ahead and make pear compote that's so smooth it will look like baby food. So start by peeling the pears, trying not to get rid of too much flesh, and be careful not to press down too hard on the pears, especially the conference pears that are a lot softer and juicier than the Packham pears. Then you're going to chop them into pieces, discarding the end bits and the core, and place the pear pieces into a saucepan that has a lid. If your pears aren't super ripe, you may need to add some water to the pan, but I didn't find that necessary. The conference pears provided all the liquid we needed. Put the lid on the saucepan and place it over medium-high heat for 5 to 10 minutes. Then remove the lid, add the cinnamon, and stir the pears regularly, keeping them on the heat. Once they've shrunk to about half their volume, take them off the heat. You can now blitz them with a hand blender or even pour them into a stand blender and use that. Blitz them until completely smooth. Any lumps won't integrate the cake batter mix correctly, which means you'll have bits of gooey pear in your cake when you eat it. That isn't necessarily a bad thing if you like pear compote, it's just not what I'm looking for here. Be careful when blending, as you may splatter some on yourself, and the pears will be hot, so it could be a good idea to let it cool a while before doing this part. Now we're going to mix the cake batter. Place the coconut oil in a large mixing bowl, or in a high-edge bowl if you're like me and want to minimise the splatter zone. Whisk the coconut oil on its own until it's soft and fluffy. Gradually add in the brown sugar. You may want to sift the brown sugar before adding it, as it has a tendency to clump. Then add the honey and keep whisking until it looks creamy. Now you can go ahead and gradually add the eggs, whisking well between each incorporation. If you are using a high-edge bowl, transfer to a large mixing bowl and whisk some more. Sift in the white rice flour, the brown rice flour, the tapioca flour, the potato starch and the baking powder. Don't forget to add in the pinch of salt and stir with a metal spoon. As you can see, these flours are pretty absorbent and the mixture will form a dough. Don't worry, soon you'll be thinking I've gone crazy with how runny the mix is. Now you're going to stir in all the rest of the ingredients except the salted caramel. Start with the pear baby food you just made, then the milk and the Greek-style yogurt. Stir it well to make sure there aren't any lumps, but try not to overstir or your rice flour will go gummy. I know, the mix is basically liquid, but trust me on this, they will cook into lovely springy cupcakes, and I can promise they won't be too dry, especially once we add the caramel. Line a cupcake tray with some cupcake cases, then spoon about a quarter cup of the cake batter into each case. I managed to make 32 cupcakes. Put them into the centre of an oven that has been preheated to 180 degrees Celsius for 20 minutes, or until the skewer poked into the centre comes out clean. They will also bounce back if you lightly press the top of the dome with your finger. Let them cool for a few minutes in the pan so the bottoms can set flat, then let them cool completely on a rack. Once they've cooled completely, it will be time to finally add some yummy salted caramel. Simply cut out a circle at the top of the cupcake. If you put the knife in at an angle and rotate the cake, it will come out all by itself. Then spoon in a half teaspoon of salted caramel. Slice off a little piece of the cake lid you'd cut out and place it back in over the caramel. Don't worry, overall you don't even lose a whole cupcake's worth of cake. After that, you can decorate your cupcakes. As I said before, I was going for a Harry Potter styled cake, so I had to make a couple of accessories along with some caramel buttercream. To make Harry's glasses, I printed out a set of very round glasses onto a sheet of paper that I then covered with some greaseproof paper. I melted 50 grams of dark chocolate in the microwave, making sure to temper it as I'm using real chocolate, but you can use compound chocolate if you're not comfortable doing that. Then, I fitted a Ziploc bag with a number 1 tip, poured the chocolate in, and twisted the bag so the chocolate couldn't escape backwards. And then I simply traced the glasses on the greaseproof paper. To not have a shaky look, make sure your tip isn't too close to the paper. Let the chocolate fall from about a ½ centimetre height, and try to apply an even pressure to the bag so the same amount of chocolate always flows out. The most important is to remember to breathe. I often find myself holding my breath, and that's usually when things don't come out so well. So take your time and breathe. To make the scar, I made some caramel like I did for the salted caramel, except I didn't add any cream or butter, and using a spoon I just drew lightning bolts onto some greaseproof paper. The caramel sets almost instantly, so you have to work quickly, and don't leave them out in the open as they will absorb all the moisture in the air and melt themselves, so only add these to your cupcakes right before serving. And the last step is the buttercream. I needed 150 grams of butter, 200 grams of icing sugar and 70 grams of the salted caramel. Be sure to use good quality butter and icing sugar or the buttercream won't taste or look amazing. Start by whisking the butter by itself until it is fluffy. Sift in the icing sugar gradually and whisk until it looks nice and creamy. And then finally whisk in the caramel. You then can either pipe the icing onto the cupcakes with a Ziploc bag, but I'll warn you, it is quite sweet and that can be a little overwhelming. So you can also just simply use a palette knife to smooth some buttercream onto the cupcakes. And then into that you sit the glasses, the buttercream will hold them up, and just before serving, push your caramel lightning bolts into the cupcakes. And that's it! You've made some Harry Potter pear and caramel cupcakes. And for extra pottiness, you can always draw Gryffindor robes onto the cupcake cases. Thank you for watching this video, I hope you enjoy it. See you next Wednesday, bye! Hello and welcome to Darnyougluten.